Unique medical situation with their children.
In the beginning of 2021, we were surprised to learn that we were pregnant. Truthfully, we were not trying to be pregnant, so we were caught a little off guard. Right away, I saw my primary family physician who delivered our 2 older children, and she confirmed what about 8 at-home tests had already told me. By about the time we had wrapped our heads around bringing another baby into our family, I went in for my first ultrasound. The tech explained that she found a heartbeat. Having experienced a miscarriage in the past, I was relieved to hear this news. Then she scrolled her wand over a bit and said, "And there's a second heartbeat. Twins!" I couldn't believe it. Our surprise had turned into a double surprise. And I thought, why us? Due to the complexity of twin pregnancies, my care was transferred to the obstetrician office in town. I was a brand new patient, which came with lots of paperwork and trying to remember details from my previous pregnancies, and to the chagrin of my husband and our immediate family, asking for all their medical histories once again. After getting all set up and a few appointments later with the OBs, we quickly learned that our twins were identical. This increased the complexity, and it was now considered a high-risk pregnancy. My care was once again being transferred, this time to a maternal fetal medicine specialist at Providence Sacred Heart in Spokane. Our care and checkups would primarily be at Providence, with additional appointments in Moscow and Pullman. I remember nervously traveling the 90 minutes to Spokane for our first appointment with the specialist. I had never had a reason to see a specialist before. We were met by a very knowledgeable physician who answered my many prepared questions and also provided some clarity on this pregnancy. We got both happy and concerning news. We learned that we would be welcoming 2 more girls to our family. We also learned that there were signs of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, a condition that only happens with identical twins. The doctor spoke through some options, which included the potential of an immediate transfer to Seattle for a procedure to correct the condition, which also had risks of damaging both babies. To closely monitor the situation, he increased my ultrasound monitoring to weekly. Starting at 16 weeks, I was having weekly ultrasounds in Spokane, having a packed suitcase in the trunk, ready to head west at a moment's notice. I progressed through the rest of the pregnancy 7 days at a time, wondering, hoping, praying that the next appointment wouldn't result in emergency surgery or worse, a loss. And I thought, why me? Thankfully, we inched by with a cautious yellow light until my 29th week appointment. At this appointment, the medical team had elevated concerns about the babies and admitted me for inpatient daily monitoring. I was now a full-time patient living in the hospital while my husband and 2 older daughters, Lola and Ramona, stayed in Moscow. The care team set a goal for a C-section delivery at 34 weeks. This meant I needed to stay pregnant for 5 more weeks, all while living in one hospital room under strict COVID protocols. Every day, as excruciating as it was a victory for these babies and their future. We fell short of our goal, and the team ultimately decided it was safer to deliver than to continue the pregnancy at 32 weeks. 2 months early, Chloe Rose and Birdie Eve made their grand entrance in an operating room with about 20 medical professionals navigating this scary, joyous, much-anticipated day. Chloe weighed a mere 4 pounds and Birdie only 2 pounds at birth. I knew they would be tiny, but until you are face to face with a baby this size, you don't fully understand just how small that is. They were so fragile and delicate. They seemed so misplaced. They weren't supposed to be here yet. My first interaction with them was a nurse holding their tiny bodies up to my face so I could see them, and then they were rushed away for a more long-term care setup. Without needing to labor their arrival and rooming in totally different parts of the hospital, I felt so disconnected from them. Did I really just have these babies? Did the end product that I had been focused on for so long just come and go like that? I laid there on the operating table, waiting to see them again, waiting for an update on how they were doing, waiting for the reality to set in that they were now here and I was no longer pregnant. And I thought, why now? Once I had recovered enough to be able to stand, about 6 hours later, I was finally able to go see them. There they were, wires attached all over their tiny bodies, CPAP masks covering almost all of their faces, lying in a glass box. Monitors were constantly beeping, respiratory machines whooshing, and their fragile little chests were working so hard to breathe up and down. No parent should have to meet their child this way. I had an overwhelming flood of emotions. I was scared, I was confused, and yet somehow I was completely in love. And I thought, why them? This moment began our stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. It's hard to describe the NICU. It's a turnstile, with families constantly going home, relief and smile on their faces, to families constantly being admitted, sickened with fear as their newborn gets brought in. Some use the term roller coaster to describe the journey. There are good days and there are awful days. It's a place where you wish to never be, but are so grateful you are all at the same time. It's overwhelming having a baby, or in our case, 2 babies in the NICU. Medical jargon and terms were being thrown around so quickly that I started to keep a journal of the complex individual situations of our daughters. This allowed me a chance to research more about what was happening. A tool I relied on heavily was their MyChart accounts in the Epic electronic medical record system. I was able to track test results, diagnosis, notes from physicians at the click of a button, whether I was bedside with them in the NICU or I was getting some rest at the Ronald McDonald House down the street. Their entire medical history and lives were in one location, already quite extensive charts for just a few weeks old. In the beginning, the days were very long and scary. I'm confident that NICU room 3039 heard more prayers than a church. But slowly, over time, they grew and developed, and we watched my pregnancy, now outside my body, progress in an isolette. Each milestone they hit was one step closer to going home. But the progress wasn't always linear. There were many failed trials that delayed us from leaving. 2 steps forward, 1 step back was the brutal dance we did for months. Finally, after 66 long, emotional days, we were discharged and on our way home to be a family together. 1 month later, just getting comfortable with our new family dynamic at home, we found ourselves back at the hospital. We took Chloe into Pullman Regional Hospital's emergency department because of a really bad cough and fever. A quick test confirmed that she had contracted RSV, a respiratory virus that can become dangerous for babies, sometimes fatal. In this stressful environment, I tried my best to recall her lengthy medical history from our almost 3-month stay in the NICU. In that moment, I just wanted to be her mom and not attempt to regurgitate her medical past. Her conditions earned us an overnight stay in the medical surgical unit where things did not improve. Our pediatrician made the timely decision to transfer our care back to Sacred Heart. Chloe and I took our first helicopter ride back to a place we knew all too well, this time in their pediatric intensive care unit. Once in the PICU, the team was able to easily pull up her medical history in the Epic medical record system and make quick, accurate decisions on her care. The records from Pullman Regional, where we just were 18 minutes ago, unfortunately were not on the same system, and I had to scramble to recall everything from our short stay in Pullman. What I was able to easily pull up were familiar emotions I experienced all too recently. It's hard to describe the feeling of standing paralyzed in a corner of the room, tears soaking your mask, while a team of people frantically rush around your baby trying to stabilize her. And I thought, why again? Thankfully, over the course of a week, Chloe was able to overcome the virus, and we were back on the road home, ready to reunite with our family. Since that scare, we've managed to keep ourselves out of the hospital, at least for emergent care. The twins have had many follow-up appointments, including cardiology, pulmonology, ophthalmology, audiology, neurology, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and not to mention just their normal pediatric checkups. You can imagine how many different offices we have been in, how many new patient forms we've had to fill out, and then double it, and the difficulty that comes with managing 2 separate schedules, invoices, follow-up appointments. Having your child's information all in one location would relieve stress and frustration for any parent in any situation. Chloe has since been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. She has a long road ahead of her, especially in the next couple years, as we navigate even more additional therapies, specialists, physicians outside of her appointments with her sister Bertie. And while it's still early in her medical journey, I am comforted by the fact that our hospital, Pullman Regional Hospital, will be in lockstep with all of our providers in Spokane and tied to the same medical record system that a majority of providers use across the nation. This provides a little comfort during those times of stress, times of emergency, and offers hope for her future and the future of other patients. When we are faced with unexpected challenges, we often allow ourselves these moments of doubt and questioning. Why us? Why me? Why now? Why them? These questions often don't come with answers. I was recently telling this story to an acquaintance, and her response was unlike any I had heard before. She said, "I can't wait to see what their purpose is." This statement enlightened me. My questions of why were clearer with this one word, purpose. While this pregnancy was not on purpose, and the scary road to get them here was definitely not on purpose, these babies have given me so much reason. There is reason in the pain. There is purpose in the growth. There is purpose in the unknown. And despite all the odds, medicine and those that practice it have given my children a chance to show us all their purpose. Thank you.
I just need a little moment. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing your story. You have a beautiful family, and we're so happy that the girls are doing well. I mean, can you imagine being a young mother caring for 2 medically fragile children in a NICU while your husband is 90 miles away with your other 2 children? And to keep all those appointments, follow-ups, and care in order. What a challenge. Well, tonight